Jelly here with Sirius Talis Moon. This is Jupiter, our Mars day. And the ascendant is 2 degrees Leo. Sun and Venus still conjoining. Sun, Venus, and Mars were conjoining today. Mars is now 17 degrees Capricorn in the 6th house, with Saturn in the 9th, ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter in the 12th, but the Moon in the 1st, 29 degrees Leo. Well, my aviation prediction was borne out. And definitely, I'm happy that nothing too major happened. Greece news, and that was the Greek airport that was completely shut down. Um, so Greece airport completely shuts down over radio issue. So frequency, um, no bombing, no. Okay, and that is. I hope that it will continue this trend. We're heading towards a couple of days where the moon is going to go through Virgo and then oppose Saturn from Al-Qaid, which can be a very challenging day. Um, and that's definitely, um, it's not something that I didn't see coming, but I'm very, very happy that the airport was shut down. It's unprecedented for Greece and several hours complete lockdown. I definitely saw. So today we are in January 6th. The day was looking like a 9/11, and I'm very very happy that it wasn't um, because this thing definitely could be when the radio issue when the radio shut down. Basically, there it means that we don't know what's happening. You know, ATC to pilot, okay, tower to pilot, no communication. And I know that the satire would say, well, what's the difference? But and like I predicted, um, it was commercial flights. It was flights of the people. So, and this is where, fortunately, nothing happened. Several hours of no connection. This just shows us the power of frequency in the age of air. Because that thing happened in a commercial flight. Naturally, it can happen at war. In fact, I remember when I taught English, one of my students planned a trip, and we're traveling, I think, to China, and then the plane was traveling above Iran, and then they returned from the vacay, and they're like, "You won't believe what happened." And I'm like, "I do believe what happened." Who did you think they're gonna send there if not a commercial flight? I mean, if Iran knocks down a commercial flight, we can bomb Iran, and if it doesn't, we permeated Iran territory. Iran is isolated from the whole world. What can he do? And that was my student on the plane. So um, his father, by the way, worked in the water infrastructure. I know it's a sensitive topic. We're gonna have water fights later. um, Now, this power of mixing the frequencies. Um, That's something that can definitely affect wartime. It can affect planes. It can affect marine. Okay, whether army or not. Okay, marine transportation, shipping companies. Um, it can affect, of course, internet. Um, and anything that is basically frequency based. Now, things that can go missing: aircraft, ships, submarines, soldiers, and of course, people. Um, so, when something like that happens, um, basically, now I want to check something. I'm going to check it in Hebrew. I'm going to use my Hebrew privilege. Um, other than the 9/11, 1968. Okay. Um, Israel has dealt a lot with the topic of plane kidnapping, whether it's false flags or not. Um, so we have the kidnapping of El Al plane to Algeria, 1968, and Savannah kidnapping in 1972. Both of them, um, uh, both cases, they were they managed to find, to locate, and to rescue the passengers. Then, of course, we had the 9/11. Um, then 1976, Entebbe, which was the Air France that was flown to Entebbe, Uganda. Um, so those were the major events of kidnapping and aviation airplane. We are still within the danger zone. Okay, I want to emphasize that because we're gonna have the triple conjunction all the way to the 17 and 18 degree. Um, and those things are very possible. Yes, of course, the Schiphol. But yes, but I'm covering it as kidnapping, so it's difficult for me to. Okay, let's talk about the Schiphol airplane. Um, El Al as well, 2009. No, really? That recent? That's the one that crashed. There was one that crashed into the building. This one crashed during landing, but there's the one that killed the building next to Schiphol. No, there's this one. They made a movie about that. So again, another El Al flight. Pilot error as a factor rather than Falcon. Targeted individuals. I talked about before the triple conjunction, I talked about the fact that the plane technician is oak mind controlled, and that the fumbling with the frequency when people are subjected to mind control, there's a fumbling with the frequency, and that can definitely cause and that was the Turkish Airlines. Yeah, so this week is a bit challenging. Um, in terms of these type of disasters, I'm very happy that the Greek uh, uh, event ended up with zero casualties, zero plane crashes, um, and that was again 2 days ago. We still had the triple conjunction. It moved from the 12th. It's going to move all the way to the 18th degree, and big topics about aviation. Um, any more news? So, again, escalating violence in Sudan, Venezuela, which I covered. And let's see the Trump list. Australian news. So, talked about Colombia. Said that the leader who likes making cocaine was not going to be doing that for very long. Iran, Mexico, and of course, with Greenland it's difficult because I guess he has to have the Deans doing drugs, and I guess it's not. um, yeah, I mean, he could go for Epstein Island. That's real estate. It's there was a shit ton of drugs there. It's not. It's neither above nor beneath Trump to do that. I mean, everybody knows that it's like possible Trump moves. Um, by the way, Saturn Neptune, China was addicted to opiates, and it has to do with Russia. I don't know, the Soviet Union at least. Again, if they go for the extortion cults, they have the full clearance. They're gonna have to install Zero Rape Society. If they go for Zero Rape Society, they also have Zero Addiction Society, and then they can literally loot the entire Earth. It's if anybody is still not doing Zero Rape Society, which is like the entire, at least the blue ocean, the entire world is not there yet. So that's basically, you can take down a drug lord, you can take down an Epstein Island extortion cult. You do that in the entire world. The world is yours. You're gonna have to keep Zero Rape Society. I don't know, Venezuela. World leaders react to U.S. capture of Venezuelan leader. That's 2 days ago. And just pay attention to how the incident in Greece was barely covered. Um, Nothing new. U.S. reportedly ready to support European-led post-ceasefire defense for Ukraine. That doesn't look like a day of ceasefire. But Macron is competent. It's a surprising time for Macron. Draft statement to be finalized at Paris meeting of Coalition of the Willing. I can't with you guys. And U.S. delegation also reported to refer to binding commitments to protect Ukraine. Okay, how are they gonna protect? How are they gonna protect Ukraine? Multinational force would ensure regeneration of Ukrainian armed forces. Draft statement. That probably means NATO is gonna be busy. So it's my parents were married and they came to Israel and they had a car. They have the weird license plate for the cars. Everybody thought my father was from the UN. It was not a pleasant time. um, and so anyway, at the time where the President of the United States has once again stated the US is very serious about Greenland. This support from our allies in NATO is both important and unequivocal. But who said that? Okay, that's another. Everybody's embarrassed. Trump has managed to embarrass everybody in Green with the Greenland. He's a master at exposing weird structures. So that means ceasefire in Ukraine. That's big. Damn. That's amazing. Let's take a look at the chart. Oh. First of all, everybody is alive, breathing, happy. Okay, nobody got kidnapped, nobody got assassinated. Everything's fine. Um, First of all, Mercury agreements in sign of Saturn. So the agreements here have a possibility to stand the test of time. Mercury is not retrograde or in shade period. So that's something that definitely what's agreed upon can stand the test of time. Jupiter in Cancer agrees with Saturn. Again, Jupiter not too far from Procyon. It favors peace. The moon applying to Regulus. Moon rules the people, Regulus rules leaders, and this is even though the moon is squaring Uranus, so applying to square Uranus today, and square Lilith in Sag. But it was trining Chiron. The moon was trining 22 Chiron today, and that was curation of the wound of assassination, which can also be war. And again, an action that can stand the test of time. Mars, Venus, Sun, triple conjunction. I'll still follow to see what's happening in the coming days. Venus is ruling over Uranus. Mars ruling over Chiron. Jupiter over Neptune and Saturn over Pluto. The important thing for me is also Mercury. If something was signed today, then it's this draft can definitely stand the test of time. I believe in the coming days it will be refined and I'm just reading the chart. Okay, I haven't read the document is for the people that that's their expertise phrasing the things. But in terms of my domain, which is astrology, I can see that that definitely has a chance to stand the test of time. Peacekeeping forces. What I think with this Mars Saturn combination is Mars is exalted in Saturn. It's very likely that these forces will be there. Once they embark there, it feels like they're going to be there for quite some time. So, and yeah, I think that's reasonable if we think about, you know, a lot has been suggested also for the Israel-Palestine to have the peacekeeping forces around the border and so on and so forth. Again, as long as we remember UN Security Council decision, UN decision 1325, then that can be a great solution. I'm going to be waiting to see what happens when this mini stellium here in Capricorn crosses the square to Chiron. And this is where we're going to see if there are violations of this agreement or if there are things that challenge this peace agreement draft. Again, France here playing a historical role of remediation, as it had numerous times in the past. So, points for consideration, again, the immediate ones, the following days when the moon crosses through Al-Qaeda, up to Al-Qaeda, opposing Saturn, the stellium moving towards squaring Chiron, and I do think that it's going to stand the test of time. I just think that there may be challenges or needs to refine something, or there may be a delay or a need in immediacy of sending powers, or something of that sort. Jupiter is retrograde, and that will continue for quite some months until Jupiter goes direct on 20 degrees and then goes direct on Procyon. For the entire world, it's going to be rethinking peace. And this was one very good thing that happens um, that happens today. I was worried. To be very honest, I was worried about the election today, but everything is so far so good. Um, Amazing. If we're gonna have like finally putting that to rest. Now I do take into account that Saturn and Neptune are gonna meet in 0 degree Aries and then 1 degree Aries. I don't illude myself that Russia is not gonna be involved. Okay. Um, what does that mean? I don't know. But I don't live in the illusion that Saturn and Neptune, which are so associated with the Soviet Union, going into war sign, is is going to just go through smoothly. Um, which is why it's so important to put the Allied forces there. Um, I don't know what Trump is doing. I don't know what Trump is doing. Oh my god. I'm not saying a good thing, bad thing, who knows? I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's like the good thing about it is that it forces the Allied forces to sovereign up in the face of the United States. And that's something that whereas Mark Rutte has been pushing for too. And some is just common sense. So it's not a bad thing. Um, and he's pushing for Greenland because Greenland is more important than Ukraine for United States, as much as we don't like to admit it. Oh my god. Um, Now, hey, I mean, if Trump was going against drug dealers, it's a WH it's a WH question. He did do steps to diverge from the WHO. Um, but then the questions: what are Americans eating? What are Americans eating? I mean, because no, because that's people are waiting for to unstandard oil when we're talking about crops, we're talking about natural crops, we're talking about sovereign food sovereignty, organic food meaning, the chemtrails. Even Greenpeace did not tend to the chemtrails. And I was like, Greenpeace came out to build Standard Oil because they tried to excuse themselves around that topic. Um, if Trump tends to that, then if he got food sovereignty for the citizens, he doesn't need to worry about the drugs in Venezuela. Um, and the expectation is, if somebody's putting an alternative to the WHO, an alternative to, let's say, I'm not saying alternative to NATO, but kind of like, hey, NATO needs to sovereign up in the face of the United States, um, and and basically an alternative to the oil refineries Um, then he wants Greenland. That's obvious because and United States genuinely does need to be able to not have other people in Greenland. Let's say. No, I'm not talking about the Inuit. I'm not talking about the people that are in Greenland. I'm talking about if Greenland is northeast to United States, so that's kind of risky. It's kind of like Iran to Israel. Um, Al-Qaeda, okay, the tiny war teaching. Um, it's very difficult to attack the northeast, and this is genuinely true. Um, but that is not justification to violate a nation's sovereignty. So, um, and now people begin to say, okay, if Trump can tend to the WHO, can tend to even the World Economic Forum, okay, with the tariffs and so on and so forth, um, tend to drug dealing in Venezuela. What about food sovereignty for the people? Like people are expecting sovereignty, expecting the sovereignty of Trump in the face of to yield to the sovereignty of people. And I have to admit, it's not I don't see that happening. I'm just like, hey, now and the question is, what is he dealing with? Is he dealing with China? Is he dealing with WEF? Is he dealing with what's preventing that from happening? Um, or will Venezuela allow that to happen for United States? And the question, does the United States want to have forces, keep peacekeeping forces in Ukraine? And, and um, now here's the thing: if United States has peacekeeping forces of United States in Ukraine, it's giving Cuba Missile Crisis in reverse, or not even in reverse. It is. I know we had one this year. I know. Um, and and here's the thing: very likely Trump knows that, but Greenland, and that is kind of um, what do you do geopolitically when you have something like Greenland that's like above everyone? There's a pack of indigenous society there um, that knows they have amazing location, they have amazing resources, and and if anybody wants to, first of all, if anybody wants to partner up with them, they can't do too much to them because there's gonna be a competitor that can say, okay, I'm not. They can denazify here and there. Um, Shit ton of ambulances. Now, definitely tense, definitely needs revision, and the question of the desire to make a world conglomerate, um, with all the challenges that that brings, because that would have to be accommodating for each and every individual in the entire world, and people are expecting progress. Okay, they're expecting, more women rights, more children rights, total abolition of slavery, zero rape society, and there are big expectations. The world is really, really changing. The very big expectations, and those that expect to, there are always these weird cults and sects that expect to enslave humanity. Um, you'll want to see that that's effectively mitigated on a global level, and the fact that, not unlike the days of Genghis Khan, when we don't have zero rape society, basically it means that the one who creates zero rape society is a blue ocean. They can take over each and every land in the entire earth. But it's true. It's a great opportunity. Yes, the great opportunity is not mine. Um, However, no, it's challenging because it's a Slavic, it's a Russian girl that's in the U.S. doing comedy. Ksenia, shout out to Ksenia. Um, yeah. Well, as per France, I think I'll definitely be following what's happening, because this is a very, um, it's a time of upheaval. I remember I did a chart for Macron. It's a time for upheaval, um, but I definitely see him sustaining that upheaval. So it's gonna be weird. It's gonna be revolting, um, but again, is France going to fall into, enslaving people and stuff like that? France is France. The French are the French. They like their sovereignty. Um, France, by the way, changed the language requirements for people that want to apply for citizenship from B1 to B2, which means another layer, um, when it comes to language and language acquisition. As a person who is half Dutch, I can attest that with that, we need to think about language acquisition as a holistic, because that can bring a massive class lawsuits, not class, massive sets of lawsuits, because that's a more effective way. Um, if there were cases where, let's say, French citizens couldn't acquire their language because there was a trafficking around the real estate and they escaped that. And that can definitely bring a lot of litigations, because there are people that would definitely want to be in there, or to live, or to at least spend some of their life there, and that was not even possible, um, due to the trafficking and wealth consolidation around real estate. And again, I'm not saying that's the case for France. I don't know France, but I'm talking about language acquisition and a holistic perspective on language acquisition, because those traumas can create traumas regarding language acquisition, um, particularly if there was, that can create linguistic traumas. Okay, that's on the other hand, it does bring um, uh, um, language cohesion, um, which is, I think, for France is very natural. It's in the spirit of um, separating religion from the state. And not showing the religious, let's say, if I were a talisman in France, I would wear it under, I would wear it as a necklace under my shirt, and I would not just pop up there with the beta per se or whatnot, just out of respect um, to the fact that people deserve to have their secular life and human rights, um, uh, man-woman rights, um, granted, as something that's very important. Um, and I think about this Jupiter separating from Chiron, from the square to Chiron, which means that um, we're beginning to smooth the friction that was very intense. Jupiter 22 was really intense. It was 9 days that were filled with tension. Um, and again, Chiron, the wound here about sovereignty, but for all forces, sovereignty in spirit and matter, regardless of gender, origin, bloodline, and so on and so forth. Um, and that, if that is the type of sovereignty that would stand the test of time, the rest of them would just collapse, or be an image of sovereignty, um, which was prevalent in Gladio because we had Neptune in Libra. But now we have Neptune in Aries, which can be um, a different perspective of that, because what we're longing for is sovereignty. Um, more things that come up. Well, Venus. What's Venus doing here? So Ukraine is very associated with Taurus and Venus, um, and that is a different phase in the diplomatic relationship with Ukraine. I don't know. I think Zelensky removed the requirement to be a part of NATO. And the usual lifelong compensations for the people that were harmed, because and that's the question. We talk about women's rights. We talk about soldiers' rights, veterans' rights, um, the ethics of the peacekeeping forces. It's not a secret, and everybody remembers when I asked, was Nachman Meumann in Epstein Island, and people are gonna ask that about the peacekeeping forces, and people are gonna be really mad and really frustrated from 2 3 years of helplessness around that very topic. Would people return to Ukraine? Um, how many people were trapped? I'm half Dutch, and we have a lot of refugees. Um, the Loverboy scams of Dutch juxtaposed to that. Uh, how many people were trafficked just because they had to escape basically a war zone? And this is something that will definitely be needed to be tended to. Um, this is We remember that when the war in Ukraine started, there were horrific violations of men and women that were raped. Um, very likely both frontiers, which means that Ukraine also has to um, basically pay, and I think that would be a challenge for Ukraine, because if it wanted to join NATO, it would be eligible. It would need to pay the 2 to 5%, and then they would need to pay also the compensations for their side of the frontier. And if people think about the Israel-Palestine, well, absolutely, any country that will be in the region south to Israel will have to pay compensations, and Israel will have to pay compensations, aka Shilumim, for the sexual boundary violations of men and women and children, and the trafficking of men and women and children. Unless it wants to risk treason, I mean, they can always have political assassination. I mean, we've seen that. Kidnapping of aviation with commercial airplane, and that it was like, if they don't prevent trafficking, that's what they do to the trafficked people. This is another thing to keep in mind. Again, when we have Moon Regulus talks to us about the people and the people being seen. Squaring Uranus in Taurus, it reminds us that even if it's peacekeeping forces, Beta Persei turns to stone. And what is to turn to stone? Bodies upon bodies turn to stone. It's like the Great War, these anonymous graves of all the people that had a problem with women having the right to vote and having their own bank account. 2 generations, not just of men, but also of women. And it took another world war. So it was the First World War, it was the Great War, and then it was the Second World War. This one is about sexual sovereignty. Men, women, children. Um, and also including the elite. Which people mostly forget, because um, because it's by design that people will not have um, not have it in mind that the things that they go through is pretty much the things that people went through in the Holocaust, and that's their supposed training, so they'll be strong. Yeah, that's what I think about. Oh, look at this Moon Regulus. Moon ingress to Virgo. I just had to cover. I just had to cover the peace agreements. I know it's just a first draft and so on and so forth, but this is so major. And the entire day, I was like Macron. I was like, okay, what's happening? And now I read this. This is really amazing. I'm cautious. Of course, there are still tensions in the sky, but there's a lot of remediation as well. Still, okay, we still got a couple of tense days. And remember what I talked about earlier today, the freedom of speech. A lot of, I can say, from the atmosphere, going around, traveling and so on and so forth, the atmosphere is that there's a lot of attempts to silence. There's a lot of people that are afraid that the people will speak, because they know if they're going for the drug lords that run the countries, they're going for the extortion cults. And if they're going for the extortion cults, there's a lot of people really, really afraid. I say, have no fear. Zero rape society. Keine Angst. Zero rape society. It's not about hunting people for the past. It's about changing the present to change the future. I know it sounds like it sounded megalithic, but it's just common sense, okay? It's not about hunting people for the past. We know that that's been a Holocaust game. It's literally, there were even people whose role was to play Hitler. And that is, and that's the thing. It's not about, which side of the prisoner's experiment, or the prison cell experiment, okay, those that are the wards or those that are the prisoners, because those sides change, but it's about coming out of that prison, which means breaking the walls of the ghetto. And that's the thing. Anything that violates sexual sovereignty at this point, in this day and age, entire world can go boom. But the opportunity is that people have way more understanding. Way more understanding. And yeah, there's a lot of fear. A lot of fear, because when they're going for the drug lords, they're going for the extortion cults, and when they're going for the extortion cults, a lot of people have a lot of fear, and try to, people would not speak, would not this, but there's no fear. Zero rape zero slavery, zero ritual abuse. If just to stop those behaviors now already raises the frequency from fear to peace. Um, because to try to silence the people, like I said, they're going to have seething anger over nothing because, you know, any attempt to enslave society backfires, even by society. Which is why I say it's a blue ocean. Those that have zero rape society can conquer entire world. As long as, if everywhere they go they install zero rape society, they can conquer entire world. If entire world is extortion cults, and somebody says zero rape society, zero extortion cults, full food sovereignty, housing first, and so on and so forth, it's a blue ocean. Everybody would be in their favor. Everybody. They would have no enemies. Um, Lilith Sag. The moon is square in Lilith in Sag, which tells me that, and it would be sextiling after the moon is done with Virgo. What it tells me, we're going from the square to the sextile with Black Moon Lilith. So if right now, and I think the sextile is the fear of everybody that they still try to work in those silence way or base their pride as a compensation mechanism for the fear of the incompetence at instilling zero rape society. And so, but this incompetence was only born out of outdated structures that placed competence at the incompetence. And that also causes. Now, here is the thing: when it causes these things, it's good for the blue pills company, and it's good for the other solution companies, and people don't want people to have sovereign. Yeah, so. And this is the square, but it's a lot of fear because I remember when Uranus just ingressed into Taurus, men and women began to get along, and that was terrifying for the sex trafficking cults. What happened? Men and women begin to get along. Okay, they want to raise children. How's the medicine? Not good. How's the economy, housing sector? Not good. Are they saving yield? No, they're invested in trafficking their children. Though. Classified projects. um, can we have men and women getting along with? We rather not. We rather not. And this is why we are having this atmosphere of fear